Yes, Mila, I'm gonna hold you. Hold on. You need to wait. Um, yes, I know. Jeez. You just act like you're dying. I swear. And you're not. You're not dying. You're not being abused. Yeah. Yeah. Are you cussing Grandma out, huh? Are you cussing me out, huh? Yeah. Are you cussing me out, huh? In kitty talk? Sure sounds like it. You don't sound very happy. He came and we went to a Burger King. I'll never forget that. We went to a Burger King, we ate dinner, and then we talked, and that was when I told him, well, I go, this is what I want. I wrote everything down. I kind of like wrote him a little letter. And I remember he read it. He was sitting there reading it, and I said, you need to, marry me. We need to get married. I said, that was when I told him, I said, we need to move out of your parents' house. I go and get all your stuff out of there. And I said, we need to officially move into we have an apartment and we're hardly ever there. I said, and, we just need to be more independent. I told him, and then I told him that, he needed to get a career because at the time he was filling vending machines. That was his job. And I said, no, I said, you need to have a career. And those were my conditions. And he came and got me on a Monday, and then we went to, it's called Baja. It's in, I do believe it's in California. I don't know if it's in California or Mexico, but we went to Baja, and we got married in Baja on March 25th. That was when we got married. And and then like about a week later, he tried to join the Air Force, but they didn't want to take him because they said he didn't weigh enough. So I remember his mom was making him these banana shakes. They gave him so much time to gain the weight, and he had to gain, I think it was like 10 pounds he had to gain in order for them to take him. And so he was drinking these banana shakes, and he gained the weight. He qualified and everything else, the testing and all that, and they accepted him. And then he had to go to Texas for his basic training. And then that Saturday, his parents used to take clothes to Mexico, I think like on a monthly basis. And because his dad was a Knight of Columbus, he was in that group, and that's affiliated with the Catholic Church. So we went to a Knights of Columbus. We went and did that for them, went and took these clothes down there, and then they said, well, we're going down there anyway, so you can go with us, and then we can take you over there and you guys can get married. So got married, and I was really happy because I was like, yay, I'm not shacking him up anymore, and we're officially a couple, and we're officially a family. And my husband went away to his training, and I stayed there with his parents. And when he got done, he said, we're going to be going to North Dakota. He said, that's where I got stationed. And I said, okay, I was happy because it wasn't too far from where my mom lived. So hold on. Oh, and another thing is, I forgot to tell you, he wouldn't join the Mormon church. And so there was talk. He did want me to join the Catholic Church, but I didn't join the Catholic Church until like around I think it was 1980, I think it was, when I finally, it was in the 80s, when I finally did join the Catholic Church. And I had to go to classes and everything in order to do that. But yeah, because I was really big on going to church and stuff. I wanted to raise my kids up in church because my mom raised me up in church. So I wanted to do that with my kids too. So we went on to go to North Dakota. Went to the Air Force Base in North Dakota, and they do 4 year what do you call it? They sign up. You sign up for 4 years at a time. So we were there. I got pregnant with my second baby. We had a little girl. Then I got pregnant again soon after, and we had another little girl. And then by this time, his time was up. So he asked me what I wanted to do. And that's what I loved about him is he always included me in major decisions. He didn't just go and jump into whatever he wanted to do. He always asked me. And I told him I said, I want to get out. I said, let's get out and let's just go back to California. So we got out of the Air Force and we got one of those great big trucks, loaded it up and drove back to drove to Kelly. We lived with his parents until we got our own place, which was about a month later, I think it was. We got this cute apartment, and it was above 3 garages. While we were there in that house, I went on to have, that's where I was when my mama died. She was killed in a plane crash in 1987. And I went on to have my older son. I forgot to tell you, I had a miscarriage after my third baby, and that was in 1983. And then I had my older son, and then I had my younger son. And then finally, I was playing with my younger son, and I had an accident. And so I had my husband take me to the ER, and the doctor did a test on me, and he said, "You're pregnant. That's why you had that little accident." And and I said, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, you're pregnant." And he said, "And I'm putting you on bed rest for 2 weeks." He told me. And I said, 2 weeks? I have 5 kids. And he said, well, he got mad at me. And he said, well, you either do that or you're going to lose your baby. He said, it's up to you. He said, and he just stormed out of the room. He was mad at me when I said that. I got 5 kids. I can't be on bed rest. And so I did. I did the, get down, Neil, get down. I did the bed rest because I didn't want to lose my baby, and I ended up having a little girl. So I had a little girl. Hold on. Oh, she's cussing me out. She's not happy I put her down, but I gotta take care of this. I'm making macaroni and cheese. That's gonna be my breakfast, and I'm gonna heat up some liver. Yeah, you have no business crying. Yeah, you know that. That's why you're meowing like that. Yeah, because you have no business making a ruckus. Yeah, because you're not even being abused. Grandma gave you breakfast and everything, so you don't have no business acting up like that. So anyways, where was I? She made me lose my train of thought. So then it was after we had our 5th baby, then that was when, our 6th baby, then that was when my husband asked me. He said, look, he goes, I want to join, I want to be a border patrol, he told me. And I said, well, I don't have a problem with that, that's what you want to do. And he said, yeah, but he said, the training is far away. You're going to be here with the kids all by yourself. And I said, well, it's my job. I'm a mom, I said, if that's what you want to do, then go for it, when you become a border patrol, they really have an extensive background check on you. So that took almost 2 months for them to complete that. He passed his background check, and he was off to training. And I was really proud of him because he got a marksman medal when he went. He was a marksman. That's how good he was at shooting. And then he got stationed not very far away from San Diego. That's where his headquarters was. I mean, where they stationed him at, where he had to go show up for work. And he rented a room with these guys. So I used to, as soon as the kids got out of school on Friday, I would drive all the way over there, and we'd spend the weekend there with him. And then finally, he got us a house. We had a house that he rented for us. It was a 2-bedroom, and that was in there in California, not very far from his job. And we rented that home, and then it was there where I got pregnant with my last baby. And after I had her, then I told my mother-in-law, I said, I don't want to have any more kids. I said, because I never made my kids do work. I didn't make them do chores like a lot of parents do. My kids didn't have to do anything. I did everything for them. Because the way my mom raised me up, she'd be going, get in there and do those dishes. You clean that refrigerator out. I'm gonna buy groceries, and I just felt like I felt like I was a slave. I felt like, damn, all I do is work around here, sweep and mop the floor. My mom loved to clean house. And I used to have to help her with laundry on Saturdays. She goes, Sonia, come on, you're gonna help me do laundry, and I'd help her do laundry. And I was 9, 10 years old, helping her do it. And I just always felt like my mom made me do too much as a kid. And now today I'm addicted to doing dishes. I love to wash dishes. I love to iron. I love to do laundry. I love all that stuff. And I don't have a problem doing it. And so I told myself, I said, damn it, when I have my own kids, I'm not making my kids do a damn thing, and I didn't. My kids, the only time they had to do anything was if they got in trouble. Then I'd make them do dishes, or I'd give them a chore as punishment. So needless to say, my kids were pretty good, because they didn't want to work. They didn't want to, have to do all that stuff. So my kids were good. I mean, imagine I had all these kids, and they were so well behaved because they didn't want to be in trouble. So so anyway, did you just fart? Huh? Did you just fart? Because something smells kind of fishy over here. Yeah. You're hiding your face. Yeah, Mila? Mila, you're giving me that look, that guilty look. Did you? Huh? Yeah? Huh? She's laying in my arms just like a little baby, you guys. Spoiled rotten. So yeah, anyway, we had a house. There we are. We have beautiful, healthy 7 children, and I just felt like it was too perfect and it was too good for me. And one thing I've always done is I've always sabotaged anything. Whenever anything is going really good for me, I sabotage it, because I feel like I don't deserve it, And so I was working on sabotaging this marriage for a long time. By this time, when we had all of our 7 children, I had tried many, many things to sabotage my marriage, but it wouldn't work, because he told me, he said, I'll never divorce you, because he was a big believer in his marriage vows, and he wasn't going to go back on his marriage vows. He promised to, keep his vows, and that's just how he was raised up. I, on the other hand, I was throw the baby out with the bathwater type of person. I was like, well, I can just get another husband. I don't have to stick with this one. So um, by the time by the time I think it was 1990. It was 1991 is when he was in the war. He went off to the war because he was in the reserves. So that's another thing he loved too, was the military. He always wanted to be in the military, and because he was in the reserves, they sent him to that Desert Storm War. Okay, so that's where he was. When he got back from that war, then that was when our marriage was pretty much on the skids. And I told him, I said, I'm leaving California. I said, I'm going to move to North Dakota. I shipped all of my stuff to North Dakota, to my sister's house. Well, my mom took her as a daughter, and her name was Bonnie. And she was married. She lived in a big city there near our reservation, and I shipped all my stuff there. My plans was to live with her until I got on my feet. Okay, so he wasn't happy about it. And I had also served him with divorce papers, but he wouldn't take them, so that divorce never went through. He wouldn't accept the papers. I don't even know what happened to him. I think I just ended up throwing him away. But yeah, I filed. Um, but yeah, so that's how bad it was. And this was in 1992 at the time. Um, I went to North Dakota, took all my kids there. My brother drove me. My brother had a really nice truck, and we drove there. And his wife, they had a truck, and they had another. Then we had my car. It was a little brown car. So we all drove over there together. I go in their house and everything, and they had a powwow going on at the time. The United Tribes powwow was going on, and I told her, I went there, and I ran into a lot of racism when I was there, with the Washichus, with the police, and then with this place where I went to get some help, and then she was treating me really bad. And I told her, I said, I'm not going to stay here. I said, I'm not raising my kids up here. I said, these people are prejudiced in this town. I said, in this city. I said, I'm not staying here. There's no way I'm going to raise my kids up here. So I told my brother, I said, I'm going to go back with you. I said, and I'll just live where you're at. I said, until I can get on my feet. And it was there. It was my second time when the devil came to me and told me to kill myself. I just had a bad day. I hit a couple of my kids. I slapped them up because they got in a fight. Because we had all of our stuff in storage, so I would take my kids to the storage, right? And I'd say, get your clothes that you're gonna wear for tomorrow. Get your underwear. Get everything you're gonna need. And they were fighting over underwear because one of my kids didn't bring underwear, so she was trying to get some from my other kid, and they got in a fight over that. So I just, from all the stress and everything, I went up on two of my daughters, and I slapped them up and pulled their hair and was yelling at them, cussing at them, and uh, so I wanted to kill myself. I said, man, just kill yourself. You're a horrible mother. So my plan was to drive up on this mountain, and I was gonna take drop off my two little girls over with my brother's wife and leave them there, and I was gonna drive the car up there and just drive off of a cliff, because they have this place up there that people go, and they go for recreation, and it's really high up in the mountains. It's real beautiful up there, and that's where I was gonna go to do it. And I'm sitting there by the storage, and I was crying, and my little kids are playing in the car. My two little girls are playing in the car, and I'm sitting there, and I hear, as plain as day, I heard God's voice, and he goes, my girl, he said, don't do it. my daughter, he said, you don't need to do that. He said, I'm going to bless you. He said, I'm giving you everything you need, everything you want. All you have to do is just hang in there, he said. And within a week, I had that beautiful 2-story apartment I told you about. And it was a fourplex where I lived, and it was government housing, and my rent was only $35 a month. I mean, I had it made there, living there, and $35 a month rent, with 7 kids, 2 stories, and then the Mormons provided me a dresser for each one of my kids. They gave me clothes for them, bedding, furniture, dishes, pots and pans, everything. The Mormons gave it to me because they have stores there called Deseret Industries, and the bishop will give you a paper, and it tells everything on that paper you can get. So they supplied me with everything. I had everything for my brand new home because of the Mormons, and then the city also helped me too. They came and gave us everything. Christmas time was coming up, so they blessed us with presents. We got a brand new TV. Um, I got brand new stuff for my kitchen, a bunch of stuff. Um, oh, and then they gave me a brand new sleeping sofa. Yeah, I got a lot from that. The city gave me a bunch of stuff. It was some kind of program where they help families in need. And they even did an article on me. They put me in the newspaper, and then they also put me on the radio. So I did all of these things because they were amazed, that here I was, you know, a mom to 7 kids, and I'd been through so much and done so much, in spite of, doing it alone. They were pretty impressed with me. So yeah, I got involved in church, and I was going there to the church in my little town, and we were doing good, and then I started drinking, um, and I I decided that here I go sabotaging everything again. So at that time, I was just telling myself that my kids didn't need me. That was, what I was telling myself a lot. And you just need to give them to their dad, and then that way you can drink all you want, you can party all you want, and you'll just be so much happier. You won't have all of these worries, and just give them to their dad because they're better off with their dad anyway. You're a horrible mother, because at this point the police had already been to my house 3 times. Yeah, they came to my house 3 times at this point. I had my children were crying. One of my kids was crying, was upset. Called. They go, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to go live with my dad, and my dad in California. And I said, well, call him up, and tell him you want to come and live with him. So I let her call her dad, and I remember her crying and telling her dad that she didn't want to be with me anymore. And then I called him. I think it was either that day or the next day. I called him up, and I said, you know what? I said, you need to just come and get the kids, because I said, the police have already been here so many times. And I said, and I'm scared. I said, I'm scared they're going to take the kids. I go, so you need to come. He told me he was going to come on a Saturday. And I said, no, you need to come right now. I said, ASAP, you need to get here. And he did. He did. He dropped everything. He came and got his kids. And do you know, the next day, the police were at my door. They were there. And there was a man with that policeman. There was a policeman in uniform, and then there was the other guy was he was dressed in like a um, dressy casual. And then he asked me. He said, "Well," he said, he goes, "Do you want some more? Did you eat all your food, Mila?" Yeah. Let me see. Let me see. No, you didn't. Hold on. Let me get you some more. Hold on. Here. Yeah, you need some more. You're digging around here. Okay. Um, Yeah, so where's my bleach? Here it is. Um, so he came and got my kids, and I'm telling you all of this stuff because it's all gonna tie in. It's all gonna come together when I tell you about my day of salvation. You're gonna really get it. Why why it is so precious to me, and why it is why I live the way I do, because of everything that I've been through. So um, the guy that was with the policeman, you should have saw his face when I told him my kids weren't with me anymore. I said, well, they're not here. Because they go, where's your kids? And I go, they're not here. And he goes, well, where are they? And I said, I go, I had their dad come and get them. So he took them all. I said, I'm here alone. And so the police told me, they said, look, we've already given you 3 tickets. We're going to give you one more for contributing to the delinquency of a minor. We're going to give you a 4th one if you don't leave. We want you to pack up. We want you to leave. We're giving you a month, they said, to leave. And they said, and we don't want you coming back here to live ever again, And that's what they told me. So I said, okay. I got a hold of my brother. My brother was working at a company called Cubco, and they had these moving trucks, He brought it over, and him and I moved all my stuff out. We didn't move it all out, but we moved a majority of it, whatever he wanted to keep, for himself. So we moved that into his apartment, and then I guess he sold most of it. But yeah, he was able to make some good money doing that, because I had to give everything to him, So anyways, after I gave my kids away, I forgot to tell you guys about this part. I remember the day that he came and got the kids, I didn't even shed a tear, not even one tear. And that used to trip me out. I'd be like, why didn't I even cry, But I'm going to tell you why I didn't cry later on in the story. I'll tell you about how God spoke to me and what he said. And I remember that day like it was yesterday. But anyways, I remember I was talking to his mom, and she was getting mad, and she was telling me about how the kids needed a lot of stuff when they got there. And she goes, well, what do you expect when they just have an hour or so to get stuff together? She said, to leave. And he had to keep our 7 kids in his room because he was renting a room at the time. And I don't know if you guys have ever tried it, but it can't be easy taking care of 7 kids in one bedroom. And her name was Martha. It was one of his co-workers. She rented him a room. She let him stay there, but he was a good man. He was a good dad to his kids, and he wanted something better. So what he did was he gave 2 to his grandparents. I mean, to his parents, my kids' grandparents. He gave 2 to his sister, and then the other 3 he gave to his brother and his wife. And they were taking care of him until he could do something. And what he did is he bought a condo, and then he got all his kids after that and was raising them. And during this whole time, I'm running around and I'm drinking and just acting a fool, not doing anything good with my life. I ended up homeless in Echo Park. If you guys want to Google it, you can Google that. Google Echo Park, and you can see how bad it is there. Gang activity is really, really bad there. And here I am homeless on the street. Um, I tried staying with one of the men that my mom was married to, but that didn't work out. So that's how I ended up homeless. And they had this place called House of Spirits, and I was with this guy. Him and I, we were homeless together, and he was a drug addict, but I didn't know that because I was real stupid. I didn't know about drugs and stuff. And he would take off and he would go do stuff. He'd say, "I'll be right back," and he'd be like looking around, and I go, "What are you looking for?" And he says, "Oh, I'm just making sure nobody's following us or whatever." And here all that time he was high. He was high on drugs. And there was this old abandoned house right up the street from House of Spirits, so that's where we would sleep, and we used to call it the condo. And then I would also go visit my kids. I'd get on a bus and I'd go visit my kids, or at least the ones that lived nearby, because my two smallest ones, they lived all the way with their grandparents, and that was too far for me to go. And then my son, um, he was too far away too. He lived with his auntie. So I would just go visit the three over there at his brother's house, because I could take a bus over there. And so I would do that, every now and then I'd go visit my kids, and I'm drinking every day. And what ended up happening was this man I was with, he was a Christian, okay? And he used to, I remember he burned somebody. He was supposed to get them drugs and he didn't. Instead, he just used the drugs himself. So this guy went up to him and they were standing, face to face. And then all of a sudden, this guy just swiped at his neck, and here he almost stabbed him. I mean, he almost sliced his throat. Um, so man, I go, "This is crazy." I said, "This is crazy." I go, I wanna go into that rehab home you were telling me about." And he said, "No," he said, "don't do that, because then we won't be able to be together." And I said, "Why?" I said, I go, "All right." I go, "It's too late." I said,